My name's Tania de Regil. I'm from Mexico City, and I write and illustrate books for children. Ever since I was a little girl, books have meant the world to me. The first thing I remember is my mom reading us bedtime stories. I also remember how she would sometimes make up stories of her own, and funnily enough, the main character always seemed to be just like me. They were always naughty like me, and that annoyed me a little bit, but it also made me laugh. When I was 5, my family and I moved to Sweden. And my mom, she's a very smart woman. She wanted us to learn everything about our new home. So the first thing she did was go to a library. And she found some really great books. After that, my bedtime stories now included characters like Pippi Longström and Linnea, Alphonse. It was really wonderful. And by the time I was able to read on my own, that's when a whole new world opened up for me. I was able to go on adventures without leaving my bedroom. And by the time I was 8, I knew that one day I would write stories and make pictures of my very own. I had a wonderful childhood, and I think the stories I write are for that little girl. I also had an amazing teacher who encouraged us to keep a journal and fill it up with words and pictures. And now that I look at them, I think of them as my very first picture books. I loved drawing, although I always felt like I was never good enough because my brother was exceptionally good at it. But I still loved it, so I never stopped drawing. Luckily, I get to do this every day now. I don't feel like I'll ever stop learning about illustration or writing. So I always like to experiment and try new things. When I'm working on a new book, I always like to practice, and I never stop until I feel like I found the perfect characters for my story. A New Home is a very personal story. It comes from my experience of moving at a very young age. As I just mentioned, I lived in Sweden when I was very young, and I was also lucky enough to have lived in New York while I was studying in college. These experiences really shaped me, and they also made me appreciate a lot of things from my own home country. Because of that, I decided to write a book. A New Home is a story about a boy and a girl. The boy is living in New York and is moving to Mexico City, and the girl is living in Mexico City and is moving to New York. They're both a little worried, so they share with us all their fears. Now, I do understand what these kids are going through. You see, this is me when I was 5, around the same age as them. I was living in Mexico, and I was very happy, until my parents told us we were moving. I remember the feeling. I was scared and worried and sad to leave my home. I really didn't know what to expect. So, I understand that leaving your home can be scary, But I also remember the wonderful things that came with this big change in my life, and all the amazing things I gained from moving to a new home. I loved illustrating this book because I was able to add all the things that I love about each city. A saxophone player in New York City's subway, or a cilindrero in Mexico City streets, a hot dog vendor, or a woman selling elotes and esquites. Or how about a summer day at the beach in Coney Island, or a summer afternoon at the canals in Xochimilco? There are so many things to discover about these wonderful cities that soon both kids will realize they'll start making new memories in their new home that they will cherish forever. This story is so personal that as I was drawing the characters, I realized how much the little girl's mom and dad ended up looking like my own parents. It was completely unintentional, but I guess it shows just how close to my heart this story really is. And on a final note, another incredible thing I was able to experience while living in different countries was meeting people from all over the world. Because of this, I learned that no matter where any of us come from, we're really not that different. So, even though the kids from a new home grew up in completely different cultures, they are experiencing the same fears and emotions, which serves to show that in the end, we're not so different after all. Now, before I go, I'd love to show you the drawing I did of the kids. I hope you learn a few tricks here and there. Each book I work on is different. For a new home, I used watercolors, ink, and colored pencils. The first thing I do is draw all the outlines with ink. I usually work with a light box, but for this video, I've already traced my characters very lightly in pencil. I'm using a special pen called a dip pen, and I love it because I can draw a narrow line or a wider one. It all depends on the pressure I apply. It's also very important to use waterproof ink, because when I apply my watercolor, I don't want the ink to bleed all over my drawing. I love using watercolors because there's a magical quality to them. They are so unpredictable that you never truly know how an illustration will turn out. But never have doubt when painting. Decide where you will place each brushstroke and then let the watercolor do its magic. Yes, there is little you can control, but that is what makes it so wonderful. The most important thing is to have confidence while painting. Oh, and also remember to enjoy it. I've come to realize that my illustrations always turn out bad whenever I'm not having a good time. So just relax, have fun, and accept any mistakes as part of the process. I loved illustrating the kids from a new home. Choosing what they would wear, the color of their hair. Oh, and also giving them their favorite toy. Remember that watercolor dries lighter, but you can always add more layers of paint over. With a thin brush, I add all the details. Have you noticed how one of the girls' sock is always slipping off? That happens to me all the time. The last thing I do is add all the final details with colored pencils. I add a little bit of texture to the sweaters, and I add the details to the girl's dress, which is inspired by the beautiful Mexican embroidery. I also gave texture to the girl's hair. She always looks so put together. And I gave the boy a little bit of wave to his hair. To me, it's all in the details, and I think that's what makes an illustration so wonderfully unique. To finish off, I always add a little shadow. Now, these kids belong to the real world. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this journey into my world. And I hope you enjoy the book.